So one of the other things I need to sort out in buttoning up the passenger side of this car is the louvers on the rocker panel. The quarter panel has these, factory quarter panel, has these louvers punched into it, drain holes if you will, but more of a louver style. There's 3 of them there. The replacement rocker though doesn't have them. And at the time I welded this on, I didn't have the foresight or arguably the capability to implement louvers. Here's the rocker panel I cut off, and you can see there's 1, 2, and a third one up front, a skinny little one. So these are about 7/8 inch. So the question is, can I replicate these with the rocker panel on the car, the replacement rocker panel on the car, or do I need to cut it off and bang them out on the bench? So we're going to try with this piece of steel here and see how we make out with cutting a slit and beating or bending or what have you. See if it's something I think I can do under the car while the rocker panel remains on the car. So one other consideration, the original metal is 19 gauge. The replacement metal is 18 gauge. So this is a piece of 18 gauge that I'll be using to more accurately replicate the circumstances under the car. Good luck. So the first question is, can I cut the slit in the panel while it's on the car? I will not have the inner rocker in place, so I can ostensibly get inside the panel underneath the car. So this, obviously a full-size cutting disc is going to be too big. This used one is rather small, worn down to a small diameter. And it looks like that will work outside of the car. I'll probably use the die grinder with a mandrel. And let's look at this one. This hole, of course, is a little closer. So there it's pretty tight. Of course, if I use this small disc to cut this one and then cut this one, the disc would potentially be smaller. And then, of course, the little tiny one down here, I'm just going to have a teeny tiny sliver of one of these discs. Maybe wait a little while and wear the disc down further. But I think that confirms that we can cut the slit under the car. So let's cut the slit on this panel. That's a 7/8 width, which is roughly the size of these right here, these two. So we'll see how we work out with that. I'm using a 1/32 inch disc. Most of these are 1/16, so obviously this is half the size. It'll leave a much smaller slit. And what I'm going to do too is use the electric tool rather than fire up the air compressor for the die grinder. So here we go. I think we have our slit. Obviously with a bigger disc or a smaller tool, I'd be able to cut straighter. So this is at a little bit of an angle, but we have the slit most of the way. Let me just enhance that a bit, make it a little bit wider. we have a variety of metal shaping implements here, and we've also labeled the front versus the back because the pucker is mostly, obviously the louver needs to go this way, so this needs to come up and that needs to go down. The pucker or raise is greater on the lower side of the panel, the road side of the panel, and it's slightly raised, less so on the inner part of the panel. So keep that in mind as we try and recreate this. So let's start with some crude efforts here and see how we make out. Put a little more round in that. So far so good. Looks like we could come up, bring it out a little farther this way. Maybe bring it out like that. So let's just compare. Yep. Let's try and put a little more round into it. See if we can't get a little more spread. Boy, if I could just get this guy in there, that would really. We'll work on this. Got a little bit of a rich lip there, but I think I can tweak that with pliers. Let's just try and round it out with this bigger guy here. There's my marker. Okay, well, I think we've achieved a lip. Let's maybe mock that shape up with a profile gauge, see how it compares to the other one. And again, I might flatten that out with pliers a little bit. Here we have a 9/16 inch socket. So we'll tap around that and see if that changes the shape for us. We're gonna level that first with pliers. This is 18 gauge, so it's gonna be a little less compliant than the factory 19 or 20 gauge. So let's level that a little bit with pliers. Give me a break here, go get some tools. So what I ended up doing was taking the head of the ball peen hammer, the ball end if you will, and using that as an anvil, and body hammer over here, and that both lowered the peak and drove the profile out a little bit further. Sort of the off-dolly method. It did raise it a little bit around here, but that shouldn't be a problem on the rocker panel because it has a folded flange on this edge, and obviously the face of the rocker panel there that provides structure. So with two good folds right here, I don't think these parts are going to move at all. In any case, let's square that up with the profile gauge. So here's the profile gauge on the revised panel, and you can see that we don't quite have the height or the length of the original, but I think we're pretty close, and I think for drainage purposes it'll work. And then one other aspect, there's a little bit of a lip on the underside here, a little bit of a peak there, and it would be nice to reduce that. But again, that's the inside of the rocker panel, so what will I be able to get in there with? Certainly not a hammer. I will try using some vice grip pliers or regular pliers and see if I can't push that down a little bit, mimicking the restrictions or constraints working inside the rocker panel. So I determined that I could reach inside the rocker panel with this small pair of vice grips and use the jaws as a bit of an anvil to press that little peak out of the lip on the regular panel. In fact, here's how it looks now. There's a little less of a pronounced peak right there underneath, and in pushing up with the vice grip a little bit while I was under there, I was able to move this profile out a little bit too, and now we have a pretty good fit right there. So I think we'll call that a success. I think the proof of concept stands, so we don't have to remove the rocker panel. I mean, if this messes up or doesn't go as planned, we can always remove the rocker panel if need be. We can beat things flat and weld them back up and try again if need be. Anyway, there you have it. So we've crawled under the car and we've measured and made our slits, and we've put in our rearmost louver. Put in the rearmost louver here, and then the middle louver. Inner rocker is still in place, so when I take that out again, I might tap them into a little bit better shape. And then up front, that's where the louver belongs, but the tool is just too big to cut the slit. And even if the disc was smaller, I think the tool would really get in the way. So what I'm going to use is my Dremel. Of course, I'm going to have to get the full circular one. I don't think this semicircular one's going to work. These things are brittle. It broke just laying on the ground with it, getting ready to video. Anyway, looks like that's going to be the hot tip. Let's see how we make out. So we've got a pretty nice slit there. It didn't go all the way through. I had to poke it through with a screwdriver, but looks pretty nice. That disc is a little fatter than the 1/32 disc that I use on the larger grinder or larger cutoff wheel. In any case, let's get a small screwdriver in there and start bending down our louver and see how it looks. So here's the profile gauge. Switch hands here. There we go. So you can see there's a little bit of space there. I could perhaps stretch it out a little more, but I'll look into that when the inner rocker is back off. Right now, I'd say it's close enough. I'll just be running a file on the edge to knock some of the rough stuff loose. Use a rat tail because it's a round shape there. And let me check the profile gauge on the rear ones. Be right back. Here's the profile gauge on the rear one. Could be a little fatter going up into the rocker. You can see the space there. Let's compare it to this one then. And this one could use a little more dressing as well. What I think I'll do is use this Phillips screwdriver, and I'll put a lever back here, or a fulcrum back here, so I'm not pushing the rocker up as much as I'm pushing this louvered section down. Let me see how I make out.